So what are we going to talk about in today's session is a very, very important topic. Okay, trust me, this topic will play a major role in your interview. Okay, so make sure you concentrate well. Okay, because it's slightly tricky, but at the same time, it's pure common sense. Okay, so make sure try to understand. Okay, it's all about constructors here. Okay, now in today's session, we are going to deal with a topic called as constructor chaining. Okay, what is the topic we're going to deal with? We are going to deal with a topic called as constructor chaining. What is constructor chaining? One constructor calling another constructor. That's it. Okay. There should be multiple constructors. That is when one constructor can call another constructor. And the process of having multiple constructors is called as what? Constructor overloading. Correct. So overloading meaning the process of having multiple constructors. And once I have multiple constructors, one constructor will call another constructor. That is called as chaining here. Okay. Constructor chaining will happen in two ways. Okay. The first one is with the help of this calling statement. This calling statement, we call this as what? This calling statement. We write it as this of, but we generally call it as this calling statement. Okay. With the help of this calling statement, I can achieve constructor chaining in the same class. I can achieve constructor chaining in same class. Got the clarity here? Okay. And then we also make use of, okay, one more calling statement. That calling statement is nothing but super calling statement. What do we call it as? We call it as super calling statement. Got the clarity here? And this super calling statement is used to invoke another constructor in another class. Okay. It is used to call another constructor in another class present here. For that, easy relationship is mandatory. Sir, slightly confusing, sir. What is happening, sir? 101% you will have that confusion. Okay. Until and unless I explain it in a beautiful manner, you will never ever get understand the process. Okay now. But we will try to understand in a beautiful way. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay now. Just concentrate. Okay, just concentrate for one program so you'll get the clarity. Okay, see here guys. I will have a class. Class is a blueprint of an object and the class name I can take anything. I'll just take it as demo. Open curly braces and close curly braces. Is this a syntactically valid class? Valid class? Absolutely. Okay. Now I will have a constructor. Class name is demo and the constructor name is demo. Okay. Open parenthesis close and open curly braces close here. This is one constructor. Can I have one more constructor? Yes, sir. You can have any number of constructors. Demo, open parenthesis close and open curly braces close here. As of now, is it a syntactically valid class? Is this my question? Okay. My question is this a syntactically valid class? Okay. So your answer is no. Okay. Your answer is no. Why no, sir? Okay, I'll tell you here. Okay, now. So what is constructor overloading basically? Sir, in a class, having multiple constructors is called as constructor overloading. And when I have multiple constructors, there should be a change in the arguments here. But look here, there is no change in the number of arguments, no change in the data type, nor there is no change with respect to the arguments here. Got the clarity here? Okay, so this is what we are supposed to understand here. This is not valid here. Therefore, now I just pass it as int a. Now is it valid? Absolutely. Why? Sir, there is a change in the number of arguments. Perfect, guys. Now here, I will just print system dot out dot. I'll just print the output as 1. Okay, now SOP, the output as 2. Okay, that's it, guys. Now, sir, common sense, sir, whenever you create an object, that is when the constructor will get called here. For my understanding, I will just write it as start. Okay, and at the end here, at the last, I will write it as end. Okay, start and end. Now, apply common sense and tell me if I tell demo D equals to new demo of. Now, tell me what will be the expected output. What will be my expected output? Okay, start and end will definitely get executed. Will it print 1? Will it print 2? Or will it print nothing? Okay, think and execution starts from main method. Start will definitely get executed, right? This line will get executed, start will get executed. Now when I create an object, sir, constructor also will get executed, sir. I am not passing any argument, sir. Therefore, the control will go here, sir. 2 will get printed. And then the control will come back to the caller, sir, end here. This is scenario number 1. Very good. Okay, very good. Got it? Similarly, now I will pass 10 over here. Can you tell me what will be the output here? Simple, sir. Execution starts from main method, sir. Start will get executed, sir. When I invoke the constructor, I am passing one integer argument, sir. Therefore, the control will go to A, sir. A value is 10, sir. But I'm printing 1, sir. 1 will be printed. Control will come back and then end will get printed. So what did you understand, sir? In my program, I can have multiple constructors. In one class, we can have multiple constructors. But at a time, we can invoke only one. When I create one object, I can invoke only one constructor. If there are 10 constructors, I had to create 10 objects, correct? But in order to avoid it, we have something called as this calling statement. What is the job of this calling statement? Invoking one constructor present in the same class. Okay, let us try to do this. Okay, now what I'm doing, I'll make use of this of, okay, 10 here. Now, what did you understand, sir? What are you trying to do, sir? I will tell you. Concentrate now, okay? If you're sleeping, slap yourself and wake up, okay? Now, concentrate. Now, your execution starts from main method, correct? Start will definitely get executed, and then when I create an object, constructor will get invoked. From here, the control will go slowly here. The control will go to this constructor, correct? This is step number one. And what is the first line in this constructor? This of 10. When I tell this of 10, I have to invoke another constructor present in the same class. This calling statement is used to invoke another constructor in the same class. This of 10 meaning I am slowly from here, the control is going to this constructor which is accepting integer argument a, and I'm passing the value called as 10 here. Therefore, the control goes here, value of a is 10. So here, is there any calling statement here? No. 1 will get printed, correct? And after that, the control will slowly go back to the same constructor call here. And what is the next line? 2 will get printed here. And after this execution, the control will go back to the same constructor call and then end here. So the output will be start 1 to end here. Got the clarity? Sir, can you explain it once again, sir? So just observe, okay? From here, when I invoke this constructor, control will go here. And then when I tell this of 10, what is the first line of implementation? This of 10. From here, the constructor will go to this constructor. One constructor is calling another constructor, wherein 1 will get printed, control comes back to the caller, 2 will get printed, control comes back to the caller, and then end here. So the output will be start 1 and 2 end here. So I created only one object, but I was able to invoke both the constructors. That is called as constructor chaining. What is constructor chaining? The process of one constructor calling another constructor is called as constructor chaining. And within the same class, in order to achieve constructor chaining, we make use of this calling statement. Got it? Can we understand the execution once? Okay, and I'll talk about it again. Today, entire session is dedicated for chaining concept. Okay, now people who slightly had difficulties in understanding, okay, you have to concentrate, extra effort. Stop thinking about your boyfriend, girlfriend for some time and start concentrating on the topic here. Okay, now here we have a project called as constructors, which is already created. Now let me create one package under it. Okay, control N, and I will create a package, and the package name is chaining. Okay, and the package name is chaining here. Okay, there was a project called as constructors and there was a package called as chaining. Under the chaining package, let me create a class. Control N, PACK. Okay, package. Okay, and then, oh, I'm done creating a package, right? I have to create a class, sorry. Okay, package is already created. I have to create a class. And the class name is demo. Okay, and the class name is demo. So now I'll maximize the screen so that we can understand. Okay, this is a class. We all know what is the meaning of it. I need not keep on telling 100 times, right? Now I will have one constructor. See, class name, constructor name, same. Okay, class name, constructor name, same. But now, can I have multiple constructors in the same class? 101% yes. If I have multiple constructors in the same class, it is called as constructor overloading. But in order to achieve constructor overloading, I need to have multiple constructors. But those multiple constructors, there should be certain changes. If there is no changes here, execution will never happen. Okay, there will be an error here. So here, I will tell the second constructor will accept one. Oh, okay, you can tell first constructor, any constructor, it doesn't matter. It will accept an argument called as A here. So here, I will just print the value called as, okay, I just print it as 1. I'm just understanding the executional flow. Okay, now I'm not trying to print some random content here. I just wanted you all to understand the flow of execution. Okay, now here, as of now, okay, let me try to do it in a single line. See, sys out, I will let it as start, sys out, I'll let it as end. Perfect. So now what will be the output? Sir, execution starts from main method, sir. You have only start and end. Ashte. Okay, now when I execute it here, I should be able to get only start and end. Did I get it as start and end? Absolutely. Okay, now sir, I want to invoke one constructor, sir. What will I do? Create an object. See, you can just write new demo or you can just write it as this way, because as I told you, this is absolutely a valid object creation. But once an object will get created, no one is pointing. There is no reference variable pointing to it. Therefore, you will tell d equals to new. So it means we are pointing demo D equals to D, meaning D is pointing to an object called as demo here. So you can remove this also. It doesn't matter. Even if you don't write it, it is absolutely valid. Okay, now. But since I just don't want to confuse you all, I just write it like this. Okay, this is the way you are familiar with. Okay, let me write it that way. Okay, now what will be the output? Sir, start constructor will get executed. But which constructor will get executed? Press control on your keyboard. Hover on the constructor call. Click on the constructor call. Look, where is the control taking? The control is taking to the second constructor, wherein I will print 2. Control comes back end here. So the output is start to end here. Okay, I got the output as start to end here. This is called as constructor. Okay, I mean we are invoking the constructor. Okay, now here I will pass some argument called as end. Now what will happen? Start, okay, end. Now which constructor will get executed? Press control on your keyboard, hover on the constructor call, I call it. So where is the control taking me to? It's taking to the first constructor wherein the A value is 10. Okay, the A value became 10 here because I passed 10 here, right? And then 1 will get printed. Okay, so now when I execute it, it start, 1 and end here. Got it? Perfect. Sir, but my requirement is I should be able to create only one object, sir, but both the constructors should get executed, sir. Therefore, I have to make use of this calling statement. What am I supposed to make use of? This calling statement. This of. When I tell this of, I am trying to call another constructor in the same class. This calling statement. But if I want to invoke this constructor, okay, if I'm trying to invoke this constructor, it is accepting an integer argument A. So I have to pass the integer argument as A here. I mean some value here. So now what will be the output? Apply common sense. Start will get executed. When I create an object, constructor will get invoked. I'm not passing any arguments. So the control will go to this constructor. Now when it is this of 10, what happens? This 10 value will get stored into A. I am calling another constructor in the same class. A value will be 10. 1 will get printed. Control comes back to the caller. 2 will get printed. Control comes back to the object. And then end will get printed. So the output will be start, 1, 2 and end here. Whereas I can do this in one more way also. I can pass 10 over here and I can write this off. Now what is the output? See, start will get executed. I am passing demo of 10. So the first constructor will get executed. But here what is the first line? This of. I am invoking another constructor in the same class which is not accepting any argument. See, press control on your keyboard, hover on the call, constructor call, click on it. See, the control is going over here. 2 will get printed. Control comes back to the caller. 1 will get printed. Control comes back to the caller. End will get printed. So now the output will be 2, 1 and end here. Because the calling statement is first and then later we are trying to print the content. So this is all about, okay, constructor chaining. What is constructor chaining? One constructor is calling another constructor. Okay, now we'll talk about the nodes. Okay, now we have a lot of nodes here. Okay, but here we will talk about the nodes. See, what is constructor chaining? Okay, constructor chaining is nothing but the process of one constructor calling another constructor. Got the clarity now? But constructor chaining can be achieved only in case of overloading. Common sense, no? Only when I have multiple constructors. That is wherein one constructor can call another constructor. So the process of having multiple constructors is called as overloading. So chaining is possible only in case of overloading. If you have overloading, chaining can be achieved. But constructor chaining can be achieved in two ways. What is the first way? Constructor chaining can happen in same class with the help of this calling statement, that is this of. And the second point, constructor chaining can be achieved in another class with the help of super calling statement, that is super of and is a relationship. That I will talk about it later. But as of now, these are the few things which we are supposed to understand here. Okay, I hope we all got the clarity about the process of understanding the data here. Okay, it's a very simple part here which we need to understand over here. Got it? There is some note here which I will be talking about. Now there is something called as the first part. Okay, what is the first line here? This calling statement or super calling statement should always be the first executable line within the constructor. Correct? Recursive chaining is not possible in Java. Sir, what is recursive chaining, sir? I will tell you. Okay. Control N, I will create a class and the class name is car. Okay. Here I will tell car string brand. Okay. One variable is brand, and there is one more constructor which will accept the cost. Okay, now understood, no? So now here, okay, what I'll do here, I'll print the brand. Okay, so it's not necessary over here. I'll just write it as this or 5,000. Okay, or I'll write 500 is sufficient. Okay, and here I will write it as this of, I will write it as a BMW. Okay, so now when I execute it over here, I will get an error. Why, sir? Why is that error? Error, sir, I will tell you. See, car C equals to new car of. I pass it as BMW. Okay, I pass it as BMW over here. Okay, now, so now internally what is happening over here? See, when I create an object over here, I am passing a string argument, correct? So the control will go to the first constructor. And what is the line here? This of 500. The control will come to this constructor. Again, this of BMW. The control will go to this constructor. And this of 500, this constructor will get executed. This of BMW, this constructor will get executed. So this is called as recursive chaining. If I just hover on it, can you see? Recursive constructor within invocation car end, meaning recursively one constructor is calling another constructor. Okay, recursively each other, they are calling each other all the time. Therefore, if there are n constructors, we can have a maximum of n minus 1 calling statements. Meaning, if there are 10 constructors, we can have only 10 minus 1, 9 calling statements present over here. We cannot have many. We can have only 9 calling statements. Got the clarity here? So this is called as recursive chaining. Recursive chaining meaning, as I told you here, see here guys, if I tell car, okay, here it will accept int a. Okay, now, so here it will accept car double B, correct? So now here, what will happen, So I will make use of a statement. This of 5.5, and here I'll tell this of 20. Okay, and when I create an object, car C equals to new car of. Okay, I pass 5.5. So now internally what will happen? Sir, when we create an object, constructor will get called here. So this constructor will get executed. So this of 20 meaning control will go here. And this of 5.5 meaning control will go here. Again, this of 20 meaning control will go here. This of 25 meaning control will go here. This of 20. See, can you see here? Recursively, they are calling each other here. This recursive chaining is not possible. See, if there are two constructors, we can have 2 minus 1 calling statement. That is, at the maximum, I can have only one calling statement. So either I have to use it over here or either I have to use it over here. Got it? If there are 10 constructors, we can have 10 minus 1, that is 9 calling statements. 10 constructors, 9 calling statements. Else, recursive chaining will be happening here. So what are the two notes here which we saw here? Either this calling statement or super calling statement should always be the first executable line within the constructor. We cannot use it in the second line. And recursive chaining is not possible. That is, one constructor cannot call another and that guy will call him. Okay, the recursively calling is not possible. Therefore, if there are n constructors, we can have only n minus 1 calling statements. Got it? So we understood the first half of the session. Okay, sir. What is the second half, sir? The second half is we have to make use of something called as super calling statement. Okay, what is super calling statement? All this while, constructor chaining was happening in the same class, correct? But super calling statement is used to call constructor of another class. For that, two rules are necessary. One is easy relationship and other one is super calling statement. If I have to achieve super calling statement, another constructor, if I want to call the constructor of another class, I have to always make use of super calling statement. Again, that will happen in two ways. Okay, super statement also will happen in two ways. That is implicitly and explicitly, which I will talk about it later. Okay, so now here, I will give you one more example. Okay, for understanding super calling statement. Okay, so now here, let me understand this particular program. Here I will have, okay, first class. Okay, and imagine I have the class name as father here. Okay, class name is father, open curly braces and close curly braces. Okay, and then here, okay, and then over here, I'll have one constructor. Class name and constructor name should always be same. Open parenthesis close, open curly braces, close here. Okay, and then here I will just write one line of implementation as SOP. I'll just write it as 1 here. Okay, that's it. I'm done with one set of the program here. Okay, I'm done with one set of the program. Now here, what I'll do is the next set is I will create one more class. Okay, class, I'll have one more class called as son. Okay, open curly braces and close curly braces. Okay, done everyone. And then here, even son will have a constructor. Open parenthesis close, open curly braces, close here. And he will have one line of implementation which will say system.out.println. I will just print it as true here. Okay, great. After that, I will have my main method, okay, wherein the execution will always begin from. Okay, open curly braces and close curly braces. Clear? Now here, I will create an object of, okay, son here. Son s equals to new son of, okay, son of. So now what is happening over here is, sir, you create an object. Okay, I'll also have easy relationship. Okay, I will just write it as extends father. Okay, now execute it. Okay, just if I just execute it, just understand. When I execute it, oh, I'm so sorry, I have to place my cursor in the class which has the main method. Okay, so now when I execute, I got the output as 2. Why? Sir, you have created an object of son. When I create an object of son class constructor will get executed, 2 will get executed. There is no easy relationship as of now, nothing. So the output works fine. But now, as soon as I have extends father, as soon as I tell extends father, there is easy relationship now. So now when I try to execute the program here, I will get the output as 1 and 2. Oh my god, what happened over here? I will tell you now. Okay, see here guys, concentrate. Okay, this is the point which I'm going to tell now is very important. Okay, when you create an object of a class, and if that class has a superclass, okay, and if that superclass has a non-parameterized constructor, the subclass constructor will invoke it implicitly, meaning implicitly there is a super calling statement which is used here, that is implicitly. For the clarity here, I repeat what I told here. When we create an object of a class, and if that class has a superclass, and if that superclass has a non-parameterized constructor, the subclass constructor will invoke it implicitly. Therefore, when I create an object here, the control will go here, but there is super calling statement which is implicitly used. So from here, the control will go here. 1 will get printed, comes back, 2 will get printed. Got the clarity here? So therefore, in this specific example, we are getting 1 and 2. Why? Because there is an implicit super calling statement used here. There is an implicit super calling statement used internally. So therefore, when I execute it, see, I will always get the output as 1 and 2. But if there is no super class, if there is no super class, see here, the output will simply be 2. The output will simply be 2. Why? Because there's no super class, no easy relationship, nothing. No crap at all. So it will work fine. Got it. Perfect. Great. No, we understood the first half. Hey, wait, guys, I have to explain a lot of things here, okay? I'll give you the clarity at the end, okay? You'll have a lot of fun here, okay? Wait for it, okay? Trust me, you'll have fun, okay? Now, understand one more part. Imagine, okay? Imagine, just a moment. I will take one argument called as int x. Now, can you tell me what will be the output? Okay, now tell me what will be the output, okay? Understand carefully. When you create an object of a subclass, I repeat, when you create an object of a class, and if that class has a superclass, and if that superclass has a parameterized constructor, the subclass constructor has to invoke it explicitly. If I don't invoke it explicitly, I will get compile time error, or we call it as compilation error. Therefore, if there is parameterized constructor in the superclass, the subclass constructor has to invoke it explicitly. If I don't do it, I will get compile time error. Okay. So now I have to mandatorily tell super off. When I tell super off, I am invoking the superclass constructor. Who is the superclass here? Father. I am invoking the father class constructor, which is accepting an integer argument. So I have to pass one integer argument. So now what happens? When I tell new son, control goes here. So super of 10 meaning I am invoking the superclass constructor, that is father. X value will become 10. 1 will get printed, then 2 will get printed. That's it. I'll get the output as 1 and 2 only. But if there is parameterized constructor, I have to invoke it explicitly. This is the funda behind it. Okay. So now I go back over here. And I will have int x here. Can you see here? Okay. Can you see here? Just I will tell extends father. Okay. Now when I tell extends father, can you see an error over here? Why? Sir, when we create an object of a class, and if that class has a superclass, and if that class has a superclass, and if that superclass has a parameterized constructor, the subclass constructor has to invoke it explicitly. Look at the error. Implicit super constructor father is undefined, must explicitly invoke another constructor. Therefore, I should always tell super off. Okay, when I tell super off, I am invoking the father class constructor. Okay, but I have to pass an integer argument called as 10. Now, if I don't have easy relationship over here, look at the error here. When I tell super of 10, there is no super class only, no. Which super of 10 meaning which super class constructor will I invoke? There is an ambiguity. Therefore, when I use super calling statement, make sure you have super class here. But we have object class, all those. Okay, we'll talk about it later. Okay, but this is what I just wanted to tell. Clear? So now the output will again be 1 and 2 only. But if it is an explicit constructor, we have explicit parameterized constructor, invoke it explicitly. This is all about the entire process of understanding constructor chaining. Clear? Now I will tell you in beautiful manner. Okay, so just ignore. Okay, we'll talk about only super calling statement. Okay, just understand each and every term here. Okay, just closely observe. What is the job of super calling statement? Super calling statement is used to call another constructor in another class. Okay, we are trying to call one constructor calling another constructor is constructor chaining. But if I want to call the constructor outside the class in another class, I have to make use of easy relationship and super calling statement. Without easy relationship, super calling statement will not work. Okay, and then super calling statement can be used in two ways. One is implicitly. What is implicitly? Read out whatever I read. Okay, the same thing I've documented it. When we create an object of a class, and if that class has a superclass, okay, and if that superclass has a non-parameterized constructor, the subclass constructor will invoke it implicitly. Okay, so the subclass constructor will invoke the superclass constructor implicitly. But what is explicitly? The same thing. When we create an object of a class, and if that class superclass has a, and if that class has a superclass, and if that superclass has a parameterized constructor, the subclass constructor will invoke the superclass constructor explicitly. Meaning we have to invoke the superclass constructor explicitly. If not, we get compile time error here. Got the clarity here? So this is all about super calling statement and this calling statement. And the same funda, okay, the rules and regulations are always same. Okay, what is the note I'm telling over here? The note is, okay, the note, whatever I told over here, it's always the same. Okay, so this calling statement or super calling statement should be the first executable line. I cannot write wherever I want, it should always be the first line. Why is it the first line? Is because always the super call, I mean, when I use super or this calling the first statement, always the superclass property should be allocated first and then the subclass properties. Okay, now the memory allocation first it should happen for superclass properties and then the subclass properties. That is the reason here when I make use of super over here, the control goes to father, all the father class properties will get loaded in the memory, control comes back and the subclass properties will get loaded in the memory. That's the reason we make use of this specific funda here. Okay, this should always be the first calling statement. Now there are two constructors, 1 and 2. So if there are two constructors, maximum we can have 2 minus 1. That is one calling statement. See, super calling statement we had. This is all about constructor chaining. Okay, let me summarize once and I'll talk about it much in detail here. Okay, see here guys, the topic which we discussed today was something called as constructor chaining. Okay, what is the topic we discussed? Constructor chaining. What is constructor chaining? One constructor calling another constructor. Okay, there should be minimum of two constructors. Common sense, no? One constructor should call another constructor, meaning I should have minimum two constructors. Correct? And chaining can be done only in case of overloading. Correct? No. Constructor chaining meaning, so the first two lines which I told. Okay, see? Constructor chaining meaning one constructor calling another constructor, and that can be done only in case of overloading. Without overloading, I cannot do chaining. Okay, done. This constructor chaining can happen in two ways. Am I right? Constructor chaining can happen in two ways. What is it? Sir, with the help of this calling statement and with the help of super calling statement and is a relationship. Okay, now this calling statement is used to invoke another constructor in same class. Do you agree with this point here? Constructor chaining is one constructor calling another, but the job of this calling statement is used to call or invoke another constructor in the same class. But whereas super calling statement and combination of is a relationship is used to invoke constructor of another class. That is also chaining, but we have to understand, is it in the same class or another class? Okay, this calling statement will happen in the same class, super calling statement will happen in another class. But again, this super calling statement will happen in two ways. Okay, what are those two ways? Implicitly and then explicitly. Okay, super calling statement will work in two ways. What is it? Implicitly and explicitly. What is implicitly? Okay, sir, when we create an object of a class and if that class has a superclass, see, I'm just understanding the flow. See, when we create an object of a class and if that class has a superclass and if that superclass has a non-parameterized constructor, the subclass constructor will invoke implicitly. Clear? But when we create an object of a class and if that class has a superclass and if that superclass has a parameterized constructor, the subclass constructor has to invoke it explicitly. If not, we will get compilation error. So whenever there is a relationship and constructors here, okay, you have to understand, is it implicit or explicit? If it is parameterized constructor in the superclass, invoke it explicitly. If not, you will get compile time error. Okay, now, and then, okay, if it is non-parameterized, it will invoke implicitly. Got the clarity? And it's all about constructor chaining. And there are certain rules. What is the first rule I told here? The first rule is this calling statement or super calling statement should be the first executable line. It should be the first executable line. The reason is because always the superclass properties are loaded first in the memory and then the subclass properties. That's the reason it should always be the first statement in a constructor. And second is recursive chaining is not possible. No recursive chaining. What is recursive chaining, sir? He will call him, see, he will call him, he will call him, he will call him, he will call. Okay, this infinity time, this is not possible. Recursive chaining is not possible. And third part, if there are n constructors, we can have only n minus 1 calling statements. Got the clarity here? We cannot have, if there are 1000 constructors, we can have 999 calling statements at the maximum. Okay, now, in order to avoid recursive chaining. This is all about constructor chaining in a beautiful manner. Got the clarity here? Any confusions, anyone? Okay, great. So can you tell me what will be the output now? So when I create an object, see, I'll tell b obj, or else I'll directly tell new b of, okay, and I am passing 50. Can you tell me the output, guys? Output. I'm not explaining anything. Okay, you have to tell me the output. Ignore implicit, explicit now because all the constructors are invoked here. So there's no concept of implicit or explicit because I'm trying to invoke it. Okay, some or the other way I am invoking it. Okay, now don't try to think about implicit and explicit. Just go with the flow. Okay, when I invoke this constructor, where will it go? And that constructor, where will it go? Just analyze that thing and tell me what will be the output. Okay, now here rule number one, sir. You are creating an object. There's no main method. Okay, now so ignore. Okay, I'm just doing the high level view. Okay, don't tell sir no main method. So that is the reason you're getting an error, sir. Hey, I was just talking about the overview. Okay, now when I create an object over here, from here the control will go to the first constructor. Correct? The control will go to the first constructor. Right? Now when I tell this or, it means I am invoking another constructor in the same class. The control will go here. And when I tell super of 10, from here which is the super class A, from here the control will go to this specific constructor. Super meaning super class constructor. This meaning same class constructor. This of 10 meaning, oh, I'm so sorry. Here I can give, okay, here I can give this also, it will take, okay, concatenation. So I'll give it as 6 here, 10.6. Okay, because even if I pass 10, this will get executed. Okay, imagine I'm passing 10.6. Control will go over here. Okay, now here, what will be the output here? 2 will get printed. Okay, then it will go back to its caller. And what is the next thing? 1 will get printed. Now it will come back to its immediate caller. What is the next thing? 4 will get printed and it will come back to its next thing. Then what is the last part? 3, and the control will come back. So the output will be 2143. Okay, got the clarity here. So this is not the output. Compile time error probably you would have told because there's no main method, and probably here it was 10. That's the reason you told compile time error. Okay, great. But as of now, in the high level view, this is the executional flow which we need to understand. Got it? So this is all about constructor chaining. Okay, when we are completely done with chaining process. Okay, in simple terms, guys, whatever I told over here. Okay, just remember this explicit diagram. Okay, once you remember this explicit diagram, that's more than sufficient. Okay, what is constructor chaining? One constructor is calling the constructor of, one constructor calling another constructor, and in order to achieve chaining, overloading should be there. This calling statement is used to invoke constructor in the same class, and super calling statement is used to invoke constructor of another class. And easy relationship is mandatory, and that can happen implicitly and explicitly. And this calling statement and super calling statement should be the first executable statement. Recursive chaining not possible. And if there are n constructors, only n minus 1 calling statements are allowed here. So this is all about the entire process here. Okay. So I'm pretty much done with the section for today. I've done in the most ugliest way, but I hope everyone got the clarity about this part here. Okay, now I'm done with everything, guys, for the day. Okay.